All right, and welcome to the Zoomvivor Deep Dive, a CNC podcast. And today, my co host is Edward. So, for any of you guys who do not know, he is a diehard fan. He actually hosts some other orgs as well, which he may or may not get into. But, Edward, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. And yeah, like Casey said, I do help co-host some other orgs. I used to play. I really don't play anymore. But yeah, I'm very excited to be here.
Awesome. Yeah. And I definitely wanted to have this season, with the podcast having multiple hosts on here, obviously, or multiple fans of the show as co hosts on here. So we had your mom, and
Oh
I'm not.
gosh. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, she was wonderful. And I think other people definitely liked
Oh,
her as
okay, that's
well.
good.
Although I do think she ruffled some feathers with two of the other players,
Oh snap.
Sherry and Dakota. So she called them
Oh,
bullies, and they were not too happy about that. But your mom is feisty. I love her, and I think we all do.
well, that's good.
So today, let me just flip to the right note page. Today we have episode 8, The Sacrifice. So we've had a lot that happened this episode, but mainly speaking, we had a double elimination during the demerge phase. So right off the bat, what do you think about the two people voted out?
It was crazy. Like there was some like I could see one of them why they were voted out and how that happened based on the relationship building. The other one was a bit of a surprise. And what's cool about like double elimination episodes, especially with this being a demerge, is you get to see those totem poles start to show through, and they're really helpful at this stage.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. And I think, with majority alliances potentially taking over and even a potential all Filipino alliance, you're exactly right. These types of, twists in the game really sometimes can balance things out, but they could also just as well do the opposite and really give the power majority almost absolute power.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, it was crazy with everything that happened with Costas. We had Charlene give the idol to Kat, who was obviously the clear one that was going home. But we could have almost for a second had maybe Kat and Costas, team up. But she obviously was not too keen on it because she was, getting some messages there.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think the vote could have definitely went into a different direction. It seemed like there was some type of miscommunication or not enough communication because from what the what are they called? Diary room entries or what I guess that's what they're called. It seemed like they were leaning towards that, but there just wasn't the final dots connecting. Like from what it sounds like, maybe they just had a group chat of all three of them together and they're like, hey, let's do this. And at least that's something.
Yeah, yeah, and I think also with this game specifically, they don't have a whole lot of time. I mean, at the
Hmm.
end of the day, it is a mini. So you got what, 10, 15 minutes max to make these moves and you're talking to everyone. But I mean, yeah, I just think maybe if there's a little bit more time, we could have seen something happen. But thankfully, we did have Charlene that gave the idol to Kat, and that's what resulted in Kostas's eviction or boot. But then on the flip side of things, Charlene got out and she had the idol, but she gave it to Kat, which in one sense was a smart move. That is how you build bonds and trust in the game. And you don't see that type of move happen too often well, at least in my experience with these orgs and even in regular Survivor. But when they do happen, sometimes they do build long lasting relationships. Um, but then obviously there was the whole Charlene versus Bads thing. And at the end of the day, I mean, that's what really got Charlene out.
Yeah, no, that was very sad. And then to keep on with the first tribal, that was obviously the more dynamic, interesting tribal, I think, because at least with for one particular survivor, Dakota specifically, he definitely had to show his cards. And oh boy, between the straight up lying straight to Cat when, and then him asking if he was good, I was like, ooh, and then he was willing to play the idol for Erica, and then he quickly took it back when he realized, oh crap, it's Rocks. And then if I was Costas in that moment, hearing playing this. And even though he already played his vote nullifier, I think he definitely messed up not playing his idol, because he was at the bottom in that trio where I think he might have thought he might have been in the top with Dakota. I don't know, but Dakota's got a lot of, hands in his cookie jars right now.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's crazy. It's like with Dakota's game so far, he's been playing a relatively good game, very, very leaning towards the villainous side. And then, Sherry got out, his closest ally, kind of drops him in power a little bit. And then after this, I mean, he definitely potentially pissed some people off, and he lost who I'd argue would have been who was a stronger ally at that point, Kostas, over Erica.
Mm-hmm.
And so essentially he's lost two of his greatest allies and is now left with his backup.
Yep. And then, and then also with Kat too, because it sounded like they had a deeper connection that might be super prevalent to maybe the audience, just from the way they were talking about each other in their diary room entries. Kat obviously sees like, okay, I'm just at the bottom of both of these men, Kostas and what's it called, Dakota, and so that's why she ultimately ended up voting Kostas, because like, even if she votes off her enemy, she realized she's still not enemy, but Erica at that point. It's still a tricky situation. So she went with the person who was more or less lying to her more. And then Dakota, fans the flames with the whole "am I good" thing. And then when Kat was like, well, did you vote for me? And he's like, no. And they're like, okay, actually I did. A few moments later, like, it was so bad. Because again, we're in the jury phase. So you got to be really wise about what you are and aren't saying. And at that point, because the votes are going to be revealed, right? So like, if she was straight up just asking you and the votes had already, so you should have just said yes in the first place when they're being counted, especially with everything going on. And she just played her idol.
Yeah, it was absolutely madness. It really reminds me of an actual type of tribal council, like in Survivor. Like that really felt like that kind of drama that you would see. Now, once again, as everyone who listens to this absolutely knows, I've been on production. I will say, when that was going down in like real life, we were going ballistic. Like, it was so much fun watching this play out, but I definitely had even more fun, just sitting in the background watching it as everything plays out, because we were freaking out. We were like, oh my God, like, is Erica going to get idled out? Because like, the person that knows the real rules is James. And then there's just a bunch of us production members that don't know the intimate rules of it. So yeah, we all thought that, Kostas is, one vote nullifier. I don't know. I guess we weren't really thinking about it, because if we would have took a minute, but we were just so engrossed in the whole situation. But yeah, we were just like, oh my God, this is like Sari all over again,
Oh,
but yeah, I mean, we did have the game changer rules, and then the fact that it landed like right on the line. It landed right on the line for Kostas. Like that could have just as easily been Erica going home.
Yeah.
But, oh man. But anyway, enough about that. Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about the Charlene and Bads thing. So what did you make of everything that Charlene did this episode?
Oh gosh. So I don't know how obvious or not obvious is. But Charlene was probably like my biggest person I was rooting for since the start of the series. Like, I don't know, she really resonates, and it was really touching and sort of sad to hear how she's like, kind of excluded from this original group of 5 or whatever, and she realizes that, and she's got to kind of take a bit of a back seat to not stir up too much waves. And obviously with this being a defragmented thing and being with these other 4, she had to strike where it's hot, and like most people have said, Bads is like a front runner right now.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Bads and Bing are still my 2 favorite, but I love Charlene as well. Like, she's Queen Char in my notes, like I really like her, and I feel like she had such a good grasp on the game in a way. She had a good read on the game, and this was the point where she was about to switch everything up and start to become a power player. The unfortunate thing is that the thing she really needed to finalize that move would she needed that idol. But given that she didn't have that idol, I think the only thing that could have been in her favor as if she wouldn't have gone so hard for Bads. Now, granted, I'm not 100% in tune to the dynamics because we only get a little bit of it. But I think the only other option at that point would have been Kenneth, which I almost feel like maybe they could have gone for. I'm not 100% sure, but I definitely plan on asking Charlene when I talk to her later because I'll be doing the Afterthoughts podcast with her. But I feel like that's the biggest thing with her is that she went after Bads really hard. Bing, we got the feeling and everything that Bing did not really want to work with her. So it's like she almost was there to be the power player.
Yeah, and that's really unfortunate too, because in the past few confessionals with Bing, at least, she recognizes the threat level Bad is and realizing like there's supposed to be a time, but obviously as we dwindle down to this final 8 now, you're gonna start realizing where are the numbers gonna be, and with somebody that was so gung ho, Charlene against Bads, are you gonna get another chance? It's hard to tell.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Sometimes when you do feel like, you have a shot at such a big target, I mean, you really kind of have to hit it or it massively backfires. So I feel like that's probably what she was doing. She felt as if that was her time, but unfortunately it wasn't. But I mean, yeah, the first tribal was definitely more dynamic. There's a lot more to talk about. But let's kind of reel it back a little bit and talk about some of the other events that happened. So, what did you think of the whole aftermath of last episode? With Sherry going home and then the tribe just being plopped right back in before they demerged.
Oh gosh, what a funny instance, because you have Dakota from previous round pretty much having to pick between his two allies at that point, Erica and Sherry, his two big allies, Erica and Sherry, and then him having to come, like a wounded puppy a little bit back to Erica, like, I'm sorry I voted for you, blah, blah, blah. We can still work with this. We can still go together. And like, okay. And so that drives into the demerge and the tribal, of course. And then you also see that, I forget what the vote was. I think it was
For last one or this one?
the last one. Was it like 5-4?
It was
5-4-1?
6-4-1.
6-4-1?
Erica voted for Brian all by himself or by herself.
Okay, yeah. And so you get to see, hopefully the others are starting to see like where the numbers are and what needs to be picked apart. I don't know if that's super obvious to them at this point. I think it would have been, especially with just original tribe divisions.
Yeah. And I mean, I thought it was pretty funny. Like right in the beginning of the episode, after obviously it's the aftermath after Sherry got voted out, you just look at Dakota's face. He looks so disinterested with life. I thought it was actually really funny. I mean, maybe that's bad on me for thinking that, but I found myself cracking up. And then, right as you see his face and he just looks defeated, you have Brian with his confessionals. I mean, look at him. He definitely is, a very under the radar power player, in my opinion. I mean, that's the whole reason why in his org history, he's won 2 orgs. He's only ever played 2 other ones and he's won both of them. And I think this was a good instance of him doing or showing his moves.
Yeah. And then with Dakota too, you got to feel for the guy a bit, especially when he's got to deal with the consequences of his actions, which seemed to be like a prevailing theme for him. And obviously we see him get a little emotional in the, what's it called? The merge tribal. And it feels kind of bad having, these things not exactly go your way and then like having to lie to get this one goal thing, and then because it didn't work out you have to come clean with it and then lie again, and it's really hard to keep moving forward with him. So I don't know how much longer he's got, so fingers crossed he makes a little further, but time might be ticking on that one. And then who was the other one we were just talking about? Brian, right? Or Byron?
Brian. Yeah,
Brian.
everyone keeps calling him Byron. It's
yeah,
Brian.
I had to keep thinking, yes. Ugh. Sorry. Yeah, he's definitely keeping cool. And I think he's well positioned enough in his majority alliance, and he's got just enough of that leeway connection. I don't know if he's going to make the right cuts. Hopefully he does, because I don't think he's at the top of that alliance right now, but I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been under the notion that Bing and Brian had a pretty close relationship.
Hmm.
They were definitely, I mean, Bing is more out than Brian is, but they definitely, that cup just looks so massive. Every time I see it,
Small. It's really small.
I said it before, it just looks so big. Anyway, I'm sorry.
You're good.
Yeah, so you can see that there's a duo between them, but Bing is a little bit more out in the open than Brian is. But we also had a little interesting confessional, despite you know, Dakota losing his closest ally and then voting for his other close ally, which really should fuck him up. Bing did say in her confessional that her team moving forward, she wants it to be her, Brian, Kanita, and Dakota and Erica. So Erica's still in the equation, which, it
Mhm.
seemed like Erica was fine with Dakota. It's kind of like a don't do that to me again sort of thing. But it's like fool me once, shame on me, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. Like, would you trust Dakota again after that happened?
Oh, hell no, man. I am very spiteful, especially if you're not forthcoming or give me some type of heads up. Because, obviously we've seen there's a lot of powers and stuff like that. So if he did, it's hard because obviously he had a tighter allegiance to Sherry, and you got Erica. So if he did tell her something, then Sherry could have gone home. But it's really frustrating to be in Dakota's spot, I would think. Just
Yeah,
torn between these two allies, and for whatever reason, he couldn't get them to work together. Sadly.
yeah. I just don't understand what is going through some people's heads. But granted, there's a lot of pressures and stressors, anxiety, all that stuff. Now with Erica, like, yeah, I would definitely be like, yeah, Dakota, I am not working with you, or I'll work with you, but I'll be very cautious. But I guess at the end of the day, he did show his loyalty to Erica because he was going to play his idol for her
Hmm.
until the rules were cleared up. And then he was like, oh, nope. So, I mean, I guess he did show his loyalty.
Oh, but then I there was like a few, like I said again, a few little things he was just saying that were just really big flags, especially with the a whole can I leave it to 50-50 chance? I was like, oh, this is, it shows that kind of flipper style of gameplay. It's like you don't want to really own up to your actions. And again, jury time, jury management. I think it would have been better if he just said it was Eric or whatever, because obviously he was going to play the idol for her, right? So he's like, he could have told Costas, "Hey, I'm sorry, I'm just that much closer to Erica. We're good, but it's just a tough situation."
Yeah. I just, I could say a lot on Dakota, but I think more or less we have covered it. So I guess also talking about Erica though, I still wonder what is her place in this, because I don't know if you listened to the group podcast that we did during our week break, but I feel like my thoughts on Erica, I'm alone. Like, I'm the only one that kind of thinks Erica is not socially there. Like, she's a social butterfly, but she's not really a socially aware. She's not as in as everyone thinks she is. Your mom seems to be actually the only one that agrees with me on this instance. And I think another instance of it is this episode where like everything was going down right after tribal, and like Erica's kind of trying to make, like a light comment about the eggs. It's nothing that serious, but it's like these little hints to me that are happening in the game, and even that we're watching in the edit. Like, I just don't feel like people are very receptive of Erica, because I feel like if it's a very likable player and they make some sort of little comment, people might like lightly chuckle or something like that. I just don't feel like people are really picking up on Erica. Am I alone in thinking that?
I think there's some truth to that, and with Erica too, because I believe this is her first org. I mean, I'm trying to remember her background.
I think the only thing she's played was something called Beer Survivor,
Okay,
or
okay, she's
Beer
with Garrett's
Vivor.
people. Okay, okay. So
Yeah.
it's very limited, and it's an online setting. So there's that. So I think maybe Erica the person and Erica the player aren't necessarily coinciding, because obviously when you're a social player, that means a little bit different than being a social person, which is what Erica really is. Because in that, what's it called, the first swap, I think, where she was with 4 of the other people or something like that, or maybe 5 of the other people. I don't remember. But they all comment that she was the loud one, and it's these little social cues that she wasn't exactly vibing with, because obviously it's her morning, it's their late evening, and she was trying to be peppy, keep the energy up, and they're like, just be quiet, which is unfortunate,
Yeah.
But I think she's definitely likable, and as far as like being a social player, that's probably the disconnect, and her not having enough social prowess, game awareness. And then, because I think I saw in her face when all this info was coming down that she was kind of surprised that Kat was close to Dakota and Kostas when she thought that she was Kat, I guess, or vice versa. And how pretty much both of them are kind of being played by these dudes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, with everything, there's just so much at play between all these dynamics, and they're not exactly what you would have thought would have played out, especially given that another one of the dynamics that I think a lot of people were scared of, where it was the all Filipino alliance, and that's not really kind of factoring into everything as well. So a lot of different power dynamics, a lot of different, totem poles, and who's on the top and who's on the bottom.
Filipino, that's so funny. We always deal with international alliances in our org to Rockstar, so it's always gonna happen. There's always gonna be talks about it, and you either play with it or against it. It's always gonna be there to some degree.
Yeah. Another thing too that I kind of want to talk on is the challenge. Now, I actually really like this challenge. It's
Oh
kind
God,
of
I never pay attention to the challenges.
oh really?
I always skip them.
Okay. Well, I mean, the challenge was short. It was only a 5-minute challenge, and I guess there's not really a whole lot to talk about. But it was an endurance challenge. You had like a liter or a 2-liter bottle of water that you had to hold up straight arms. No bending your elbows above your head, and yeah. So we saw that Brian and Bing were the 2 winners, and I found myself Brian won pretty early. Excuse me, Brian won pretty early. Everyone dropped out kind of fast. And then on the other hand, you had, or fast enough, the challenge still went on for actually quite a bit. But then you had on the other side, Bads and Bing that it was coming down to. And even though Bing or Bads has been my favorite up to this point, I for some reason found myself voting or like rooting on Bing more than Bads. And I don't know if that's because I kind of want to see like a flip in the dynamics, because I do think Bads has been more of a like top reigning power, and Bing is an under kind of a more hidden power player, which I think those are generally the types of people that I more so gravitate towards. But I guess that's all we can really say about that, because like I said, since you didn't watch the challenge.
Oh yeah, I always it's not like they're boring, but I'm like ready to get to the next part because I don't care who wins.
I mean, it's actually funny you say that, because I know a couple people when they're watching like regular Survivor, real Survivor, they do the same thing.
Yeah, I skip those too.
I'm always baffled when people tell me that. Like, granted, I only know 2 people, but now you're a third person that I know that skips the challenges. But I find they're exhilarating. I mean,
like I think someone on YouTube posted this. They posted the challenges without the music. It's the music that hypes you up. So I just listen to the music on Spotify.
I mean, yeah, between the music and also, Jeff commentating, which sometimes can be a little annoying. If I was a player, I'd be flipping out at Jeff. I'd be like, Jeffrey, stop. Like, especially during those endurance challenges, which a little off topic. I actually heard that with the new season of Survivor coming out, they might do a hostless tribal council.
I wonder how that'll work.
Yeah, I don't understand how that'll work either. I mean, we've had a hostless marooning. I don't quite remember a hostless challenge, although someone in one of my fan groups mentioned a hostless challenge. And then I heard that there's going to be a hostless tribal. Very weird. I don't know if that's some sort of COVID precautions, but anyway, yeah. So just kind of looking through my notes. One other thing that I want to talk about is just very, very lightly the whole Kat and Costas thing. I do really think that he was being genuine in wanting to work with her, But I think at the end of the day, maybe he was afraid that she truly couldn't pull together those numbers. And I don't know, even with Brian, there was no real communication with Brian. So just a little note I wanted to make. Also, usually every episode I have the same note about Kenneth being very extra. He is pure comedy gold. I do love his little comments. You don't like his comments?
Oh shit. Was that obvious? I mean,
Really?
I feel bad saying like, yeah, they're nice little speckles of humor here and there, but like, I'm not sure entirely where he factors into this because he's not exactly making moves, right? And he's not exactly pushing or steering one way or the other from what I've seen. So he's kind of just there. And, it's a little funny, but, you can go home too.
Oh my God.
Let the other people play if you're not going to be a passive about it. I'd rather, go home fighting at, what did Charlene get? Ninth, I guess? Yeah, I'd rather go home fighting at ninth than be kind of meh, voted out at fifth or fourth, whatever little position his alliance will give him.
Wow.
No, I can't. I love it. I'm
Strong.
teasing.
But no, I mean that's the thing. I think he's more of a character than he is a player. Yet again, another comment that people generally disagree with me on, but it kind of seems like you're on board, but maybe for some other reasons. But I think as a player though, it seems like he's a decent player. He's not doing anything crazy. He's found his way, I
Exactly.
believe, in the majority.
Which is the what do they call themselves? Something 5, Maotao 5.
Oh yeah, well the original Malta 5, or if that's how you say the name.
I honestly don't even remember. I know it's something M, but it's something 5. And again, yeah, like it's fine. It's gonna be like meh, if he becomes winner, meh, winner. Because like he's not driving anything. Hopefully, if he sticks around, he moves the needle in the right direction.
Yeah, I feel like he might do better the smaller things are, but then again, he was on smaller tribes at one point. It's hard to gauge. I don't really know what to think of him. But I definitely like the character. He brings the entertainment, at least in my mind. I like his sassy little comments.
Yeah, and someone similar to him who I think is playing the game a bit more. Or sorry, I'm not trying to say he's not playing the game, but is like more active as a player would be Kenita. I really love her. I love her little sassy comments as well, and like her drives motivation. It's kind of clear like what she understands, like what needs to happen, what needs to go. But does she have the social credit to make it happen? With the whole badge thing, and then her voting for Kenneth. I don't know what that aftermath is going to be. I'm worried for her. I'm really worried.
I mean, I wonder if anyone's going to be able to exactly pinpoint that was her that voted for Kenneth.
Oh,
But
I think they'll know.
I mean, that was definitely that had to have definitely been a jury management vote. She didn't vote for the person she should have voted for, but she couldn't vote for the other because she was afraid that it might piss them off. So at the end of the day, she could be like, "Look, I did this," and I think on one level, it's a good move. Let's just see how she handles the potential fallout.
Yeah, that's very true. Because if she's talking to Bing or Bads about it after, she can say like, well, which I would do. I would tell them, well, I was worried for an idol play, and I didn't want to cause distress in the group. That's why I voted Kenneth instead of y'all. Because if Charlene idol, then Kenneth would go home instead of you two, and so she can maybe put that in to maybe put herself above Kenneth in the pecking order. Hopefully, I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean also whenever they go back to a demerge, or not a demerge,
A
they're in a
merge.
demerge. Whenever they
They're a
go back
merge.
into a merge, if Bing's ideal alliance can come together, Kenneth isn't even in that. And so we had 10 people this episode, and now we're down to 8. And with Bing's alliance, that's 5 people. So in the reality of it, if that Bing alliance does come together, Bing wouldn't have to worry about Charlene because Charlene's gone, and Kenita wouldn't have to worry about Kenneth. And then the 5 of them could pick off the 3, and then there you go. You have your final 5.
Is it Bing, Kenita, Brian, Derek?
Bing, Brian, Kenita, and Dakota and Erica.
Okay, that could work too. And then we have Kathy. I love Kathy, by the way. she's got she can possibly reconnect with Dakota, and then her, like, even though they were against each other more or less for the past 2 rounds or so, there is something, about, trusting your enemy versus somebody who will lie to you, because at least that's something clear. And Dakota was giving her wishy-washy answers, so it might be enough to make that a trio. And then I don't know if the numbers will be there. I'm worried for Kathy.
I mean, if once again, if the alliance comes together, then she's on the definite outs. But I think between the three that would be left, Bads would be the clear target. You have Kat, Ken, Bads. I mean, it just makes sense. Then because you can tell that even though Bing and Bads, they can and will, work together, the war that is ahead is between them two. You can hear it in their confessionals.
Mm-hmm. And then with Bing, she's also got the M5 to work with as well. So she could be like the driving force of like how the rest of the games go. I don't know though.
Yeah. So I guess on that note, let's move on to the Zoomy Award. And for those who don't know, the Zoomy Award is, I could tell you haven't listened to a podcast yet.
No.
The Zoomy Award is the where we both awarded the player of the episode. So do you want to go
give me
first?
a moment. No, give me a moment. Because player of the episode, I got to think what that means now. Giving me content, playing a game. I don't know.
That's the thing. Everyone looks at it differently. I'd say the majority of my co-hosts have looked at it as the best player in the episode. Whereas Colin, during the last podcast, he gave it for entertainment value.
That's what I'm wondering too, because ratings, because like, if we're going quote unquote best players, it could be objectively bad, but I'm kind of zzz on him because, it's the whole M5, blah, blah, blah. But like for entertainment, oh my God. I think I'd go entertainment too, because like this is the person who made the episode mean a little something special, made it more exciting. Maybe tie because, the actions correlate, but I'd probably give it to Kathy. I think I give it to Kathy.
I am stuck between Queen Char and Kat.
Yes, because that's obviously Charlene with the idol play and their friendship, the previous bond, and like, that was really touching too. I almost teared up a little bit, and like with whole Kathy's like trying to reason out of like what her moves are, what can she do. That was, oh my God, I felt so hurt for her. But yeah, and I think she still played great because she could have taken out Erica, but she left Erica and she went over Kostas, who was supposed to be an ally of her.
Yeah, but yeah, see, it's so difficult because I really do want to say Charlene. I think I've always been leaning towards Charlene, but I think I'm actually going to give it to Kat.
Yeah,
because
Charlene stand too. Don't worry.
Yeah, I mean, it's really difficult. I'm still upset that Charlene is gone. I mean, really gone too soon. But
because with her gone, I'm worried because more people like to do the safe, rational thing than making the move. So I'm worried this could be a snowball effect and the M5 just keep going. And if Charlene was there instead, there would have been a lot more interesting dynamics because her and Kathy obviously had that really tight bond. And so that could have been another factor into this web.
Yeah, I definitely think I have to give it to Kat.
Yeah, I'd give it to her too. I love her.
I mean, the fact that also, once again, we had someone like Dakota who was in a power position almost the whole game, and in a matter of 2 freaking episodes, lost his closest ally, and then potentially, I think Kostas was his second closest ally, leaving him then with Erica. So, which, he still has a strong ally, and that was her. And I think she played it really well. She played it really well up to the point where she had to play her idol. And then when she played her idol, her cards were shown. And look, she didn't go home. And it caused a lot of idol plays. And on top of that, it cost Kostas his game where he went out with another idol. So we in a matter of one single tribal council, we lost 4-4. If you count the
3 idols and then fragment, because that's gone, and then Brian will still have the vote nullifier for next turn. Oh, okay, this could get spicy because it could be hold on, there's 8 votes, so it could be 7 votes. Ooh, 4-3. Oh, you only need 3 people. Oh, Brian. Sorry, I'm getting excited now because like if Brian and
No,
then
wait, Brian used his. He used his right before merge, remember?
did he?
Yeah, remember he
No,
was just
no.
like,
I thought he was like teasing them and he didn't use it.
no,
Did he
no,
use it?
he did use it, which I
I don't
I
know.
like
Did he? Are you
Brian.
sure? I don't
Yeah, I'm
remember.
positive. I'm positive. I can even
Okay.
look back in my notes, but I'm
Okay.
positive
No,
he
I'll trust you. I'll trust you. I'll trust you.
because yeah, he was like, oh my god, that thing really does look big.
I remember he told them that, but I don't remember if he used it.
Yeah,
Okay,
because he was like, because he thought he was going home, and he was just like, well, why not play it? And I was thinking to myself, and I said it during the podcast too. I was like, he had bonded so well with Costas that because they bonded on Exile Island, if they would have gone into the merge together, which they did, and they were on a demerged tribe, 2 fragmented idols make 1
mm-hmm.
full powerful idol.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh man, just actually really reflecting on it right now, he could have played such a powerful game and both Costas and Brian. And if he could have gotten Brian to play that idol for him, can you imagine that?
Mm-hmm.
Erica would have gone home and then he would have still had a second idol. Yeah. A lot. Some of this stuff, I can't believe it's just coming up to me right now. But
yeah, but I mean, in Brian's position, he really had to because it was between him and who was the young lady? Something with an A. Because she left instead. It was a 3-1 vote, wasn't it? Something like that.
wait, what are you referring to?
The round he used it, Brian. I don't remember.
Oh, it was between him and Manu. It was Sherry, Dakota, Brian, and Manu. They were in a tribes of 4 right before
No, it wasn't because he was in exile. So it was between Manu and what's her name, the young lady.
Oh! You're talking about the episode he was on Exile. That was Kira and Manu, and then Sherry and Dakota got rid of Kira instead.
Yeah,
and then he replaced
Kira. Replaced it.
Yeah, and then there was there was 4s right before merge,
and they won immunity. Yes. Yeah. It's all coming back together. See. So are you sure he used his vote? If they won immunity? Well, when did he use it?
Or no, they didn't win immunity. They were the last tribe to go to tribal council before.
And Manu left. There we go. Manu left. Okay, I couldn't remember. There were so many little details.
Yeah. Okay. I wrote it right here. Brian didn't need to play his idol. But anyway, I guess on that note, we covered, I think, pretty much everything. But do you have any final thoughts, anything at all before we end this podcast?
Oh my God. Final thoughts. Even though I don't like some of the play styles, I think with this final 8, I think it's still anyone's game, I would like to say. But, you know, especially with that group of 5, you got to start differentiating yourself, your resume, because, you know, sure, you can get to the end with a trio within that 5 or whatever. But because you guys played together, then you got to really separate your gameplay from theirs. And that can be difficult if you're sitting with your allies, you know, especially if someone's a ringleader type.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully they learn to start making better gameplay moves for them, give themselves a resume, try, you know, but I think it's going to be a possible domino storm of some type of M5 Final 3. I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, only time will tell. I think everyone is starting to hike up their game a little bit. So yeah, we'll see what the next episode has in store for us. But I guess on that note, thank you everyone for tuning in, and thank you, Edward, for being my co-host this episode. If you can please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And if you can, please share this as well. Only takes a moment. And on that note, have a good day, guys.
Oh, wait, I have one more thing. I forgot.
What's up?
Oh, I meant to say, ROCKSTART. We're another international org. There's not that many of us. Zoomvivor is also an international type of org playing through Zoom. So feel free to stop by our Facebook page on ROCKSTAR Survivor and stay tuned because we should hopefully be hosting the game in the next few months. Hopefully.
All right. Sounds good. Well, then you guys, you heard it here. And I guess if you can send me that link, I can post it with the video as well.
Yeah.
And, you know, little advertising there. All right, guys. Yeah. Have a good night.
Yeah. Thank you.